All right. According to new research from the London School of Economics and Political Science, Christians and Muslims living in India are facing imminent existential threat. And Open Doors USA is calling on the Biden administration and the international community to hold India's government accountable for the violence and discrimination against religious minorities. Joining me now to talk more about this is Dr. David Curry. He is the president and CEO of Open Doors USA. David, good to see you again.
Nice to be with you again.
So I saw earlier this month, this is I think a week before last, you called on the Biden administration to look at this. I mean, I saw your statement and you seem alarmed at what's happening
Well,
there.
I am alarmed. Since 2014, we've seen a 300% rise in incidents of discrimination and persecution in India. We've known this has been happening. You'd think that the Modi administration in India would take the right steps. They're not. They seem to be going in the wrong direction.
Yeah.
And we really need this administration to be firm on this. I understand there are all kinds of geopolitical balance issues,
right.
but we've got to have some moral courage on this.
Let's talk, David, about some of the specifics, because U.S. Commission on International Religious Freedom, to put on my other hat, made the recommendation last year that India be identified as a CPC, a country of particular concern, for these very things that you've been talking about, this egregious, ongoing, systematic persecution of religious minorities, sometimes at the hands of government. But you point out in your this study that you did that sometimes it is the government, but oftentimes they're just turning away and allowing it to happen, which still makes them responsible.
Right. The study, which was done with Open Doors in coordination with the London School of Economics, goes in depth. People can see it online at our website, opendoorsusa.org. But it talks about the levels of harassment, how the judiciary, the law enforcement within India is fearful of supporting these people who've been attacked because of this mob violence, which is being propped up by the BJP party, Prime Minister Modi. So it's a real nasty little web of mob violence, social media harassment, attacks on homes, over almost 300 homes, not quite 300 homes of Christians this year, churches, and it just goes on and on and on.
And it's trending how?
It's trending up, and it's trending up because all of the factors that are in there, the mob violence, the political support, the fear among local jurisdictions of police, because there's more of the mob than there are these police officers, or they are politically aligned with them. All of those things are still in place. We need to have the administration in India, Prime Minister Modi, his people at the state levels, to understand that there are repercussions on the international level, that we have to have some sense that there's some shared values here. There are other shared values, and culturally, obviously, we love India and love their people, but this can't go on.
Well, we had a discussion earlier today here at the International Religious Freedom Summit on religious nationalism, and India was an example of that.
Yeah, it's nationalism driven by their political agenda. I would love to see, for example, some of the Indian American executives at Pepsi, at Google, at Microsoft, who could be a loud voice on this, speak out. And we've addressed this with many of them. They're fearful to do it because it's not good for business. But again, sometimes the moral good is of a higher order, and we need people to understand this is that moment. The London School of Economics doesn't have a horse in this race. They're not saying this for religious reasons. It's not just Open Doors. They're just saying this isn't good for the world economy. It's not good for India. It's certainly not good for the human beings that have to live under this regime.
Does that, the strong arming from those in the Hindu nationalism movement, does that extend beyond the borders of India?
Well, I think that there's a pressure. Some of the Indian Americans I've talked to are, fearful as to what would happen to their friends, relatives that are still back in India. But I think right now it's just an environment where the message, you're not truly an Indian citizen unless you're Hindu, has become toxic.
So, Dr. Curry, I'll ask you this question because this is something some of our listeners we've got so many issues we're dealing with. Why is this an important issue?
Well, this is an important issue because it's the world's largest democracy. We want to see that strengthened. Right now, Prime Minister Modi is undermining that, not just with the religious liberty issues, but with how people are sharing things online, if they're able to share things online, all the sorts of things that we see shadows of here, censorship, deplatforming, which organizations like yours and mine are greatly at threat for. That's all happening right now. And if we don't stop it, you could see a major erosion in the world's largest democracy and leave a vacuum in that part of the world that would have repercussions.
But in the day in which we live, those things they're not isolated. I mean, you can't have something happening in India and it not affect other parts of the world. I mean, everything spreads today.
Right. I think we've been slow from a national point of view to address India because we hope that democracy is going to be a counterbalance to China. But if the democracy erodes its fundamental principles, then we are in a major jeopardy.
Well, it becomes a democracy in name only.
Yeah, that's right. And that's what's happening right now in the constitutional protections, all
because
these things
their constitution actually protects religion.
It's very strong.
And many of the countries in which we see this intolerance toward religious minorities, they have it in their document. I mean, Turkey has a strong.
North Korea has a freedom of religion in their constitution.
It's a joke.
It really is. So it's got to be more than words. It's got to be backed up by protections for those people who are discriminated against.
Okay, Dr. Curry, we're up against a break. I want to thank you for joining us, but quickly, do you think the Biden administration will respond?
I question whether they will. I hope they will. They've said the right things on China and the Uyghurs, but to this point, we need to see some real action.
How do Christians need to be responding to this whole issue of religious persecution?
Well, many Christians pray for, support missionaries in India. We need to be sharing this on social media. We need to be lifting it up and praying for these people. Boldness for the church and be partners with them.
And support ministries like Open Doors USA because you guys do great work. Our family supports you as one of our ministries, and we're grateful for you.
And likewise for you.
All right. Dr. David Curry, Open Doors USA. Again, check out their website. You can go to